Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to our meeting this afternoon. First of all, we would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Robinson Superior Treaty Territory and that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Métis. Can I have approval of the agenda? I've been asked by the treasurer to number 6, if we could defer that until the 28th of February, our meeting at the end of the month. Other than that, I have nothing else. Nobody has anything? Okay, anybody got any disclosures of interest? Hearing none. We'll move right into other business, and the CAO's clerk report, Telecom Enterprises.
And this is more of a discretionary recommendation, something for you to look at. By no means is it something you have to do. The recommendation is that the Council of the Township of Schreiber enter into an agreement with Telecom Enterprises to conduct a cost optimization review of telecommunication operations at the cost of 50% of verified monthly telecommunication cost savings over a 24-month period and a flat fee of $5,000 plus additional taxes to assist in the procurement of a new telephone/voicemail system. The main sort of pitch here is that we actually utilized Telecom Enterprises services before, and they did find quite a bit of savings for us. Their incentive, again, based on the way that this is priced, is to maximize savings for us, and that maximizes the amount of money that they get over the 2-year period. During that time, why they suggested to go with the 24-month versus the 18-month period is because they said that they would renegotiate any cell phone packages that contracts that we may get into. Also, the technology has substantially improved. That's why I wanted to look into the purchasing option for a $5,000 analysis and RFP for a new telecom system. What we have here is a VoIP phone system, but it's in person. It has hardware. The cloud-based software has advanced substantially, and from what I'm looking at, may be really the future of where this may be heading, and you can abandon all the hardware that we have here. So I'm not saying that we go right into a cloud-based system. This would be something that they would look at to see if it's the right fit for us, see what sort of product would be appropriate for us by doing this analysis. And at the very least, it will allow you to determine what the replacement cost would be for our telecom system. It's now over 10 years old. That being said, of course, the existing system could certainly keep going. The risk, though, is that a lot of these phones were purchased at the same time. We have paid them off, but don't want them all going out of service at the same time. So it's a bit of food for thought, and this recommendation here will look into not only what you say existing operations, but if you're willing to look into that $5,000 investment, then it may also give us pricing for just a whole new system altogether. Questions?
So what do we get for 5,000? Okay, so they're just doing a study for $5,000. They're going to give us a plan and savings and advise us what we can save and so on.
Exactly. There's two parts. The savings, like technically, if they don't find any savings, you won't have to pay anything. Now you can only go into the contract just for them to look into savings. So the way that works, they sort of gave it as an example there, is they just calculate what the proven savings are. They do say that, you know, they're anticipating a certain percentage of savings. I believe it's 29% or so, like that. But what they'll do is they'll invoice you with the predicted savings that they think they can get for you, and they'll then at the end of the 2-year period, they will look into what actually they end up saving for you and give you a credit or tell you need to pay more based on that. So that's one portion of the contract.
Right.
Now, if you want the second half, where the $5,000 comes, is for them to do an analysis of the telephone system
Right.
itself. Because right now, they'd only be looking into the sort of, what do you say, soft costs associated with our internet plan, our cell package plan that we have. And they'll just look around there to see what other providers can give you, what sort of discounts are in the market right now. But if they're gonna look at the $5,000 analysis, that they are gonna be trying to study what are the current uses of the telephone system. The main thing is that they will look at putting together an RFP out to sort of these software companies that do have perhaps cloud-based systems if it's an appropriate fit for us. So what may stem out of that study, it may state that a new in-person telecom system may be, you know, better for us, and they would suggest what they would get the pricing, so you know what that pricing would be down the line. Or they may say you don't even need any new hardware, just go with a cloud-based system that could be loaded onto a laptop, and that's it, right? May not have to pay anything extra to replace the existing hardware we have. But like I said, the hardware that we have, there's nothing wrong with it. That's why I put this forward, just as something to think about. But the operations cost review, I think that may be a pretty good area to look at. You really have not much to lose with that. A lot of potential to gain, because after they find the savings and after you pay them their 50%, you get to benefit the savings down the road.
Mhm.
So this number, this 36% total yearly savings of $13,985, this is predicted? This is what they predict?
This was the 36 in general. Are you talking about?
That's the graph that you gave us,
Yeah.
that's dated February 17th, dated today. So this got, yeah, at the very bottom, you've got all the different lines and all the places you
Yeah.
think we're gonna see, but this total yearly savings, this is what they expect?
They expect around, they said they expect to do about 29% in savings. This was what happened in 2013 when we hired them
Okay.
in the past. They found, you know, savings of up to 13,000 in a year or so.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
But but right now, we don't know, we won't know until the
Won't
end
know.
of the year.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why there's no sort of fixed price for this. It just depends on the total savings that they're able to get. But they want a little bit of money to get started, so
Yeah.
they will do an initial invoice. I believe it's on
Yeah,
29% or so.
yeah. 50% of 29%. Because we
Yeah.
give them half, right?
So in order to even determine that first step, they need to look at our current invoices and go from there and start adding it up, and then they'll be able to understand, you know, what they think that they can save for us with their primary review. Sort of how it would work. First step, they'll look at all our existing invoices, how much we're paying. Based on that, they likely know which sort of providers, what services they have in the market, so they can calculate and what they think they can save us, and then they'll start actually negotiating with those vendors in order to move into new contracts for us. That's why there's a letter of agency, because they're
Right.
representing us and negotiating these new telecom contracts.
So in order to see if we're gonna have a savings or not,
Yeah.
that's gonna cost us how much upfront?
That would,
The 29%.
yeah, that
Whatever
would
the
be,
total is.
yes.
Upfront, 29%.
But there's a
The
lot of,
number we
ven-
don't know.
We don't really know.
Okay.
The only thing, you know, that, again, that whatever they charge up front, if they don't find savings, they're gonna credit it back to you. The only thing that would be a fixed price, again, like I'm saying, is if you do agree to go, with the hardware analysis.
That's $5,000.
Yeah.
So if what the hardware analysis, if you're, this wouldn't include the cost of new equipment if you decide, if you're gonna go with a new cloud-based, you're probably gonna need new equipment. I'd lay money on it.
Yeah, our existing, laptops and all, for instance, our existing
They would be
laptops
fine.
and cell phones probably could do a cloud-based system. But, you know, they have to also look at the amount of bandwidth, for instance, the latency on our, internet in order to determine whether that's a good fit for the software. I'm hoping that, you know, they get something that's compatible with our cell phones and
Right.
our existing laptops, so we don't have to buy, you know, any new hardware. So that's sort of the goal with it, is moving forward, the phones you can answer phones basically through your laptop. All you may need is just a headset, you know, to, sort of like how you would do calls on, with video conferencing.
Right.
The only thing is you get a lot of background noise, so staff had some sort of headset just, to contain, the noise
Right.
there and speak clearly. That may work.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, it would potentially replace a whole desk phone.
Right.
If their
Okay.
analysis concludes that that's an appropriate step that will save us money down the road when it comes to hardware.
Okay. But if we went with a new cloud-based system, are we going to open ourselves up to new requirements for cybersecurity?
That's something that they would have to look into.
Because some of that cyber software is pricey.
Certainly could be.
Okay.
And that insurance is expensive too, for cybersecurity.
Like, and I wouldn't be able to tell you now, right?
No.
They'd have to do all that work to compare
Yeah.
products apples to apples and then give that analysis to us. What I'm saying is what you may get out of this is you may get an eventual replacement cost to the hardware that we currently have.
Right.
At the very least, that can sit on a shelf and then you
Yeah.
know, touch wood, if anything does happen, you have the backup cost to your phone system.
I guess the hard thing is not knowing if we're going to see a savings. Like if you could say, well, we're going to save you 29%, so that's you're going to get half of $10,000 over the next 2 years. You could almost say, well, then let's take the $5,000 and go ahead and do the study. But
Yep.
without knowing if we're going to have savings, we might be paying for a study that eventually tells us your internet is not fast enough. You can't do this. It's going to cost you a fortune in hardware, and you need to buy cybersecurity. And maybe going, rats.
Yeah, I'm like, if they,
It's hard, right?
it's hard. I mean, that element there, but them doing the analysis though, like I said, is useful because I think you need to know what comes next after the existing system we have. Like, think about it, if even for like the little iPads you use, right? All the technology we have has a date on it. There's gonna be one day where
Right.
it just gets way too outdated. The good thing with the telephone system is it's pretty, what you say, long lasting in the sense that, you know, it's not so software based on hardware, you're just speaking over the phone. So as
Right.
long as you can clearly hear who you want to hear on the other side of the phone is good.
Yeah.
Everything though is connected to that server. That server is the brain of the whole system. So, you know, that server needs to keep running. It's only acted a bit funky a few times when we've had power bumps.
Power bumps, yeah. Because I know the last one, guys came into the office and nothing was working.
Yeah, and then we gotta play around with it to make sure, that I am looking for an immediate sort of backup to that system, but. Thoughts?
I mean, I think I would lean towards just doing the first part of it. And that's my thoughts on that. And not the $5,000 study. right now. And that savings study takes 24 months.
They will take whatever sort of savings that they generate for us.
Yeah.
They will take that money and savings and invoice us.
Yeah.
How long does it take them to do the analysis to figure out if we're gonna have a savings or not?
The optimization review or the hardware?
Optimization.
Yeah,
The optimization review, I think that's, I think they would know pretty quickly based on which contract. They work with a lot of municipalities.
okay.
So I think they would know generally what they can get us. They've done this now for Terrace Bay, I think, about 3 times
Okay.
already.
So
I
if
think
it
in
did,
Paris they
let's,
do it
let's
every
say it
3 or
took
4
3
years.
months and they said, oh my God, we found another 29% savings.
Yeah.
At that point, could we say, okay, let's go ahead with this other converging technology solution? Because we'll know we've got a savings to pay, to partially fund that 5,000?
Potentially, but right at that point, they've already sort of done the work. What I'm saying is with that whole system, it may mean that we wouldn't have any desk phones anymore. We would just have cell phones. So based on that system, you want to go with a cell phone package that has perhaps more data. It could mean that, you know, we're going to replace a desk phone altogether, and everyone who needs a phone would have a cell phone and a laptop instead. So it will.
Gotcha.
So it is best to have them coincided in order to determine the best pricing, because then when they're looking for the pricing for the 5,000, they're also going to be looking at replacing what you say potentially the existing operations as we know it.
Right. Okay,
Based on a cloud-based system, you may need, you know, a way better internet package, for instance. It needs to be,
Yeah.
give us a lot more bandwidth. We have it, as I said, this is a VoIP phone system, so it's utilizing the internet anyway. So.
right.
Then we have the bandwidth available in our community, correct? If we needed to upgrade.
I think Shaw's needs get pretty high now.
It's pretty good. Like recently,
Yeah.
they've upgraded it quite a bit. I know at home I have a gigabit, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, that's
we got
pretty-
pretty good
That's
internet.
pretty good.
That's really,
I have no clue about this stuff, I swear to God, until, I have no clue.
well, Starlink is,
Did you get it? Did you get that?
Starlink is
I
about,
don't think I get
what I get is about 60 megabytes a second download speed. So you're looking at more than 10 times as fast.
And again, we don't have to necessarily rush into deciding this now. It's just a consideration for you guys to look at in the budget, right? And see,
Yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
ultimately, you don't, like, it's not necessary to do this right now,
Yeah.
right? It's, maybe something you want to look at
We want-
next year or the year after.
okay.
For me, I think it's definitely a good thing to be thinking about. But it's like, what is the risk? And what is the risk if the phone system dies tomorrow? What do we do?
The staff would be darn happy.
No, but I mean, it just doesn't seem like a real big issue to me, but I don't understand the operation, right, either.
Yeah.
So then, sorry, will this be a item on like the wish list for operating in the budget that we would look at? Or capital, or would this be?
Raise, Marlene,
It's actually, the $5,000 for the study is on your wish list for capital.
Okay.
So the study is, but the other,
No, because at this point, we would just budget based on what we pay now.
Right.
Because we don't know what kind of savings there may be.
and then, but the second 5,000 for the other piece of it?
The feasibility study part
Yeah.
for the hardware, yeah, is on your wish
Is that
list.
on there too?
It's on the wish list.
Okay, admin, hold on, I'm writing this down on my little wish list over here, 5, okay.
Okay.
It's good, it is good information.
Yeah.
I am not savvy with this stuff, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Same boat, yeah, it's a.
If you go ahead, right, with just the savings, you just have to keep in mind that then it sort of it may lock you in based on contracts. If you get a cell phone contract, it's gonna lock you in, the next 2 years for that. So if you wanna then change to a cloud-based system in the future, you're gonna have to buy out those contracts. So then you'll have to do a cost-benefit analysis at that time.
So that's why you'd like to see these two things done side by side.
Yes.
And where are your cell phones now? Do you have, does town employees have town cell phones? Just what, I don't even know.
Yes. We have,
And when are those contracts up?
they're already done, so we're
They're
not
already
locked
done.
in anymore. For the vast majority of them, there may be just one that we may be locked in. But they're typically 2-year contracts.
Right.
Right now, our service provider is T-Baytel.
Yep.
The issue I'm kind of facing is that their pricing is more than sort of doubling for getting the same sort of service going forward. They're no longer providing the cell phone, so I have to buy the cell phone separately. That's just gonna be,
That's how they do it now. They make you finance the phone
yeah.
in the price of like your new plan. Or
Right.
whatever.
It's like a $45 cell phone plan, but it included the phone before.
Yeah.
Now it doesn't include the phone.
Right, because the last time I went up, they said, yeah, and I said, no, I don't need a new phone, mine's working fine. Yeah, okay.
So I don't want to pay, almost double for. Marlene, do you know how many cell phones we have in total? About like 8 or so, I think.
I was thinking at least 6, right?
Yeah.
So typically, how long will the cell phones last?
7.
Well, Vera Anne Marie, 4 years apparently. You want to see mine?
But they will last longer than, they might last 5 years or so. So you're not paying for the cell phone now. The cell phones are paid off, so the plan is cheaper.
How many do you have, Mark?
I'm thinking that, I counted 7 off the top of my head, so
probably
at least 7.
Yeah. It took me 2 years to learn how to work mine, are you crazy? Okay.
So I guess we can
That's
just,
good information though, Nathan.
Yeah.
I have lots of questions instead.
Okay, so it'll be there in the wish list. Take a look at everything, and I think it may have the potential for savings, especially if it gets rid of hardware. You're no longer looking at spending thousands on getting new hardware. If it goes,
Yeah.
if the cloud base is where things are going, we just have to then just worry about our laptops, right?
Right.
So,
Be nice to get this working. I don't think we had much luck with that, did we?
this one, it does work.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
okay, well, we were
well,
struggling.
sometimes. yeah.
Sometimes it
struggling
works.
with,
There's some sort of connections with that where it connects to other phones too. It's
Yeah.
it's a bit quirky.
Depends if there's a balloon flying over.
Yeah, that's happening quite regularly.
Anyway, okay,
Okay.
so we'll,
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks for helping us deal with people.
number 2, watering of municipal seasonal hanging plants.
You want to speak to this one?
Yeah, I guess I can speak.
Yeah,
to
your
that.
beautification.
Yeah, this one is time sensitive for the simple reason, we got a beautification committee. If we're ordering the plants, we have to have them ordered by the end of the month on the 28th through Van der Weeses. As it sits right now, we don't know the holiday list or anything for, and I honestly don't think our full-time employees could do this, nor have they ever done this. Plus, with our part-time, or not part-time, our summer students and all that, nothing's guaranteed yet. We won't find out on summer students till probably the middle of April, the end of April. So that's not even so to have something secured and everything like that, so we decided we'd go out and get a quote. And what you see in front of you is a quote from the contractor, and if we agreed to this quote and nothing else works out, which it won't, if we can agree to this quote, then it frees up the beautification committee to go out and order the hanging baskets.
Typically, how much time does it take for the beautification committee to cover all the plants in town? I've seen them watering.
All the plant, like including the hanging plants?
Cause this quote's just for the hanging plants.
This quote is just for the hanging plants.
Yeah, so typically.
What happened last year when we got, nobody has a watering system. The watering system last year, I mean, everybody tried, it was okay, but not everybody has a truck. It was just 2 people watering, really, and then they watered all the other plants, the cemetery, all the round ones around town, and the whole bit. And I bet you that took, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know I did the ground ones, and that would take probably an hour and a half, so add another hour and a half onto the hanging baskets probably, or an hour anyway, for sure. So,
Probably an hour and a half, though. You think you've got 15 hanging baskets, you gotta get water, get a truck, get a system, get a ladder, go around the 15 hanging baskets, water them. It's gotta be, what, 2 to 3 times a week?
yeah, it's
Depending on the
2 to 3 times. Yeah, every second day if it's hot. Sometimes the rain will save you, and you might go out once every 4 days or something. Tammy?
The contractor in this case has the tools that eliminates the need for flowers, or I mean for the ladder and all that kind of stuff. Got the big tank, the big hose, the pump, can water it right out of his truck.
Right.
So having the equipment makes the process go that much faster as well.
How much does that equipment cost?
For us to buy,
Yeah. Cause I mean, if we're hanging baskets every summer, why don't we just get one? And then our summer students can just do it.
If
your
we
summer
have
students are already pretty
Or,
busy.
or our rec staff can do it. Would that
Well,
not save us money in the
one
long
of
run?
the, we're not built for that, Dave. We're not, first of all, we're not guaranteed any summer students,
I know, but this
but,
is-
and we're really not built for that. I mean, we're skeleton as we are. And all it is, in this case, if we do get summer students and it works out, maybe we won't use a contractor. But this is
But if
kind
we're
of
gonna walk
this
into
is
it.
kind of a guarantee to order the flowers. If we don't got this guarantee, we're not gonna go out and order $1,400 worth of plants, $1,500 worth of, they're $90 a plant.
Yeah, I guess I need to say things that I can't say in an open session. About the specifics of the contractor.
Okay, yeah, that's identifiable.
Yeah.
And how long would this contract be for? How long would it last?
2 months, 2.5 months, I would assume.
June to September, mid-June, so mid-June to July to August, September. So you'd be 3 months.
3 months.
3
Fair
months,
enough,
yeah.
Fair enough.
If you went out, let's just say, in 3 months, that's 4, 8, 12, that's 12. 12 weeks, if you gotta go out twice a week, that's 24 trips. Times, let's be nice and say 2 hours trip, that's 48 hours at $15 an hour, what is that? That's why I wrote this. Times 50, with 15 equals, we went with summer students. It's like $1,800. But you bring in interesting questions, like how much is a system? I don't know. And
Well,
beautification can't do this, right? Beautification do everything else, but the hanging baskets are.
Yeah, no, the hanging baskets, we haven't got the equipment, nor do we all got trucks, nor are we all gonna get trucks.
Right.
And, no, we can't do it, but we
Okay.
really want to do it, because there was a lot of positive comments about the hanging baskets last year.
Yeah.
We think it's well worth your dollar. Really.
Yeah, the math shows that it's pretty good value.
It is good. It's cheaper to go that way than it is to pay summer students.
Or regular staff.
Oh, your regular staff would be another question.
Yeah, so
Oh, no, you would never
Yeah,
because
so-
it's too much.
definitely cheaper.
In the system, you could probably really build it in an afternoon if you wanted to, but you can't build a truck, like, say, you know,
No.
like,
Yeah.
like, that stuff.
I
I
know,
don't think there's a huge hang-up,
I
but
I know.
I go around water, the ground ones, and the back of the Santa Fe is soaked, like the
yeah.
I would imagine
the
it would
back
be.
part, so like,
Yeah.
it's not a chance.
I know there was a guy in town that was willing to build a system. Donate his time to build it, but then you still need a tow vehicle
Right.
and then how difficult is it to water the hanging flats from the back of a pickup?
So if the beautification committee can't do it, I would say you're gonna have to take summer students because you're not gonna take regular staff. Not at their rate of pay. It would just be astronomical.
And then you got a contractor coming along, giving it to you for this price, so I mean, I know what I'd be doing. I'd be taking the contractor's price.
But do we have to sign up for 4 months in case it doesn't?
3 months, yeah. He's talking mid-June to mid-September. That was up to 3 months.
But to Dave's point, if it doesn't work out for the first month, then you're locked in for the rest of the term.
Well, then what if we do if it doesn't work out with that? And,
Yeah,
I mean, if we got summer students, yeah, I can see your point, but if we don't.
Tammy, was there any discussion, because I don't see it in just this quote, on locking in, or is it a sort of a pay per month where,
There was no parameter set when I spoke with him.
okay.
so if we could base contract on performance, then that would go a long way in my opinion.
In other words, you
Yeah,
just
like,
wanna
does it
pay
say
for
how many times a week is he gonna do this? You
Yeah.
know, like, it's just such a vague, it's just a number. There's no details to the number.
That part we did talk about, depending on the weather and how hot it is out there. The contractor's committed to going out every day if necessary, minimum twice a week, if the weather warrants it. But they definitely would not die under their watch, is what we were told.
Okay.
Well, I think it's
Because
probably,
those hanging baskets, let's just start with a real easy thing. The beautification committee, you go up and get them, and if you guys take care of that. They're not inexpensive, those hanging baskets, are they?
Last year, we paid $90 a basket.
Yeah.
It was at 14, I think.
Yeah, like that's an investment.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
This is time sensitive. We're not gonna throw $1,400 out the window
To not
we got-
have them watered.
if we can't get them watered.
Right.
Okay.
yeah, I'm okay with it, but as long as, I mean, we should have a note if the performance isn't there, if that's a concern.
I would say it's a huge concern.
What's that?
I would say it's a big concern.
Well, then we need to have some way of getting out of the contract.
But if I'm the only one with that concern, then
Well, I don't know.
I don't either, honestly.
And Tammy, could you look at what you say, but you need the answer now?
When do you have to order these baskets by? When does the committee have to order the baskets by, starting
Pay
in?
more for
Well,
the
yeah.
service, so yeah, for the product too, right? the end of the day.
What else? I mean,
Yeah.
we're meeting at,
That's,
what's that, Benji? Sorry.
well, I just like, to me too, at the end of the day, now we're paying more for the service than we are for the actual product that we're trying to preserve. So it's, I don't expect anybody to do it for a whole lot less, but
Yeah.
like, but I do agree they are awesome. Like they
There is self-watering planter things available. There's technology for that. I've seen it. I met the people at AMO one year. Might be something to look into for the future. Hanging baskets that you fill up once and then water themselves or whatever. But for now, I'm.
But for right now, yeah, because,
just know that-
sorry, yeah, I asked you that.
Yeah.
When do you need to order these baskets?
Well, I was gonna say, just for the viewers out there too, our next meeting is on the 28th at 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm sure they'll let us away with March 1st. So if we come up with a decision at that meeting
Okay.
about watering them, I'm sure they'll let us order them.
Because you have a deadline to order
The
these,
morning
do you
of
not?
March 1st?
Yeah? Are you sure though?
No, but I'm 99%. I mean,
But you're thinking March 1st is the dead last day you have to phone
Vanderwees told us, 28th of February is the last day. But I'm sure he's not going to, I'm not sure, but
So in the meantime, if you want to decide then, you want staff to hash out some cancellation terms or proper agreement.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I can ask this gentleman who offered his services on building a system, he's still interested in doing that. Might not be that expensive, but you still need a toll vehicle.
and you still need someone to do the actual work, right? And
Yeah.
it better be students, because I would be.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it would have to be students.
Yeah. Because I'll bet you this is
But-
not an easy job.
and maybe it'll be good. I shouldn't even say it, but towing something around poles is not good.
Yeah.
That can go south pretty quick if you're not a
Never
good
even thought of
driver.
that, yeah.
That being said, they could.
Good.
Okay,
So you're gonna wait to order them, and Tammy's gonna see about setting up a regular contract. You're gonna look at Dan, you're gonna look into what would it cost us to make a system in case?
Yeah.
And put this on your list of things to do there. Find out about these self-watering pots.
I will.
the one on the steps coming in the municipal office is self-watering, but you gotta water it.
The water.
You gotta water that, you gotta give it water for it to be self-watering.
Gotcha.
Makes sense.
That's true.
Lord.
Okay, let's move on to number
Okay.
3, 2022 budget variance report.
So what are we doing with this?
Well, it's gonna help you plan your 2023.
Yeah, I know, but, I mean, there's a lot of information.
Yeah, you're not gonna read because
I haven't seen it until now, so.
I'm gonna say that there isn't a lot, like, you've got a lot of information on this agenda today. year-end journal entries and all postings are not complete.
But the bulk of them are, Marlene.
There are legal fees that have not been posted yet, for sure. There are some of the capital projects that we're waiting for finalization on as well.
Right.
So it is a useful tool for sure, but it isn't by any means the final numbers for 2022. And I would say it isn't going to, the revenues in your capital are not accounted for because most of your projects were through lending bodies. So those have not been recorded as of yet. You're gonna find more use in the 2022 Excel spreadsheet for the capital.
For the capital projects.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if, for instance, you take, I don't know, let's just go someplace that's gonna be simple. Not looking at me sitting here. Let's turn to.
Well, just on the first page, if you look at ambulance costs, you'll see that there's a journal entry that has to be set up because they're basically a quarter behind. So
Right.
that hasn't been posted yet.
Right. But if you took a look at, for instance, total revenue, let's look, just the first page, fiscal taxation, that total revenue and the total expenses, right? So, but we had, our total expense where we budgeted was 207,000. You're right about the ambulance, right? But we came in, even with that last billing of the ambulance in, we're still gonna be under. Not much, but a little bit.
Where do you see 207,000?
Total expense budgeted.
Oh, sorry, okay, yep. I thought you said revenue.
No, expense. Because if I looked at revenue, there's something wonky going on there. We are, their budgeted amount, total revenue compared to where we had pulled in way more revenue than we thought.
Well, you have supplemental revenue, so you don't budget, you don't know what's.
No, we don't know what that's
happen,
gonna
so
be.
Yeah, that's why you're over,
But I'm saying.
which is a good news story.
Which is a good news story, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying, yeah, so that kind of gives us something to work towards budgeting 2023 when we know, oh, we got this cushion that we hadn't expected and here it is.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, that's where I think
Yeah.
these things come in handy. Yeah. But it is a lot, you're not gonna go over every line of this today, there's no
No,
way.
but we won't know how much of a cushion we have, right, until all the expenses
Well,
are in. right?
yes, yeah. But I
Okay.
mean, when you're looking at budgets, you need to look at total revenue less total expense, right, to see how much money you're ahead.
Yeah.
But when we undertaking a budget activity like we are planning to do, I think it's important to know where we were in 22, where we ended up in 2022, as compared to where we thought we were gonna be. She's right, she's got a posting to do, but I'll take capital projects out of the equation, because capital projects are always, you're waiting for reports, you're waiting for expenses, but everything else will give you a very close idea about what 2022 has done. Then when you look at the bottom line number, don't look at every individual, just the bottom line, it'll give you an idea, and then you can go back and say, where were our savings, so that when you're planning for 2023, you can kind of build those savings in. That's all I'm gonna say about that, it's a lot of math, but, like, I would take this home and break this down into
Okay.
departments.
Okay, so
It would just make more sense to me,
we need to look at this
yeah,
a little further.
yeah,
Okay.
in a lot more detail.
Okay.
But all the normal operating expenses, my bet would be it's posted.
No. Like I said, you have substantial legal fees that have not come through yet.
Right, hydro,
Hydro is posted back
Propane.
now. Propane has been posted back, but we're waiting for an estimate of the propane for this building,
right,
right?
but
So that's,
like wages,
wages have been posted back,
Right,
benefits
so-
have been posted back.
yeah. You're right, the capital projects,
Yeah.
we gotta look at definitely, but the normal everyday stuff, you're close.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Okay, so you'll,
thank you, Mark.
oops,
That-
so I'll move on to reserve transfers
Yes.
for the year 2022.
So these ones are, the first one is the 50% of columbarium sales for 2022. That gets transferred to reserve at end of the year.
Right?
The asset management plan, that project is complete. That was a 2022 capital. That was partially funded. The majority of it was funded by the FCM grant. So this is the amount that was budgeted to come from the, it's slightly less than what was budgeted to come from the infrastructure reserve.
Right, that's to pay for that plan.
Right. Yep. The third transfer is the transfer to the water and sewer reserve for the water treatment plant process optimization filter study. That was a project that was budgeted in 2022, but it did not, it wasn't complete. It's actually being done in 2023. So this is to say move what you raised in 2022 reserve and then bring that money back in for 2023.
Okay, and that's on the capital list.
That's right.
Yeah.
2023, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the the fourth one is the SCADA hardware upgrade project. That too was a 2022 project that was not completed in 2022. So the recommendation is to transfer that portion of the levy that was raised in 2022 to reserve and then bring it back in for 2023. And that is on that, both the 2022 year end Excel sheet and the 2023 capital wish list. Over those last two recommendations.
Okay. That's just a normal process every year. We do this every year, so nothing new there. Okay.
Does this list, Marlene, I'm guessing no, does this list include all of the transfers to reserves we had planned in 2022? It does not, right? So when you're
These are-
talking about entries, those are some of the entries that are missing from here.
Right, these are the ones that I have vetted already.
Okay. So there are, because I looked through here and there are in almost every, well, not
Pretty
every
much the whole,
department,
but pretty much the capital is,
right? Well,
Used to have-
there's transfers out of and into reserves that have not been completed.
That's
as
right.
We had, okay.
Yeah.
So if we move those numbers across, we'd probably have better bottom line numbers on this variance report.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are vetted, but they're not all.
correct.
Okay.
Okay. So estimated, number 5, estimated reserve balances at December 31, 2022.
Marlene, could you just clarify some of these acronyms here? FGT, what is that?
That's the federal gas tax. And you know what, Nathan and I were talking about it before I printed it and I forgot by the time we left his office to go and put the
Okay.
legend on the bottom, I'm sorry.
I'll just write it in. So the North Nuclear Waste Management,
Community well-being.
yeah, so.
Yeah.
okay.
So that's what that is, right?
Yeah.
It's LNG?
So PDGT,
It's
No,
not?
that was for the LNG.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah.
so PDGT,
Sorry, PDGT, Provincial Dedicated Gas Tax, that's what we use for the handy transit.
So there's a difference between federal and provincial?
They are two separate, yes. The Provincial Dedicated Gas Tax is strictly for the handy transit.
That's just handy transit, okay?
and the last one.
Rec committee?
No, Lib,
Oh, library donations and fundraising.
oh, okay, all right, okay, should have figured that one
I'll just expand myself.
And deferred revenue?
So I separate, the ones that are highlighted in blue there are separated because they're either a reserve fund or, so we treat the federal gas tax and the provincial dedicated gas tax, for instance, as reserve funds in our financial system. So they're totally like they are separate. You will see on financial statement,
Under Schedule 1?
presentation, they are deferred revenue. Like, so the auditors call, they group it as deferred revenue. It means the same thing.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So this Northwestern or nuclear waste management, that's deferred because it's committed? Those funds are committed?
That's, yeah, it has specific, things that you can use it for.
Okay.
So working capital hasn't changed since 2020
Correct.
for the fire truck. For the fire truck.
FD
The
truck,
fire truck has changed, but then of course, we purchased a new.
that's correct.
Okay. And water and
Andy,
water and sewer. Water and sewer has dropped from 2020. No, sorry, it's gone up, okay. Rec,
no, it's dropped.
Water and sewer's down.
water and sewer. No, it's down here, but I'm comparing it to the financial statements from 2020.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Okay, no, I'm just trying to figure out where exactly we're at. Library,
So the handy transit, we gotta get the handy transit, which one of these gas taxes does it come out of?
Provincial dedicated gas tax.
Provincial dedicated?
well, landfill's exactly the same, right? But fire truck is down, handy transit. So there is provincial gas tax, and then there's a separate handy transit account.
Correct.
Okay. And the reason for that?
I'd have to go back in the bylaw to see why
What
the
the
handy
thinking
transit was established in the first place.
And the CRFLSF,
That's an old one too. That's the community reinvestment fund, local service fund. I believe those ones,
And that amount hasn't changed like in
Well-
3 years.
no, because they are reserves, not reserve funds. But I believe those may have been established when the Hydro Commission was sold to Hydro One. When Schreiber Hydro was sold to Hydro One, don't quote me, but I'm thinking that may be when those ones were established.
so
But
what
the-
do we use that for then?
We haven't used that one, and
So when would we use it? Or when could we use it?
I could do some research on what it was originally established. I think that there's the likelihood that some of the reserves can be collapsed and go into rolled up into your infrastructure.
Infrastructure?
reserve if you want it.
Okay.
But we can check that out.
Because the life insurance liability reserve has stayed the same, and at one point you had told me that was for the old hydro, right?
That was specifically for two, I believe it was for 2 employees from Hydro, I think.
It was for what? I'm sorry, I missed that.
Life insurance,
For what employees?
Hydro, the old Hydro
The
Commission.
old hydro employees.
Yeah.
So is that something that can be collapsed too?
Likely.
Okay.
Is that something that, do you want me to do some research on that and bring them in? Okay, bring
Yeah.
that report back, okay.
Yeah, we're not saying we want them
Yeah,
taken out and put in, but we just.
No,
I-
you
I
want a
would think-
report.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, given the report that Tammy, you had provided us at our last meeting about that possible UV product that's somewhere down the road. It's encouraging to see the balance in water and sewer. If we can find a grant, we'd be in better shape. That's very helpful.
Yeah, thanks for that report, Marty.
Okay, so number 6, the tax policy report, we deferred that, so. Number 7, the 2023 budget survey report. I don't know how you guys want to go about this.
I mean, I think I say the same thing every year. I feel like there's just not enough people that do it to have to go through it line by line and everything. Yeah, there's good information there, but it's a minute representation of the population, I would say.
And that's the part of the challenge with the survey, right? Is you're more inclined to sort of get the negative
Yeah.
responses rather than people are more motivated to get the to put feedback of what could change. But either way, it's presented here for council just to see some of the feedback from residents and take a look at, you know, you may see some sort of reoccurring issues. Some things that, you know, do strike out to me is people may not know necessarily the reasons, for instance, why things are done a certain way. And I think part of that is to, we can certainly work on better communications that can explain why things, why certain services, for instance, are provided in that nature. Like just to give an example, I see like, you know, there's a comment there, like, when you shovel the snow from the sidewalk, put it back on the road, right? And it's, we can't do that.
I agree with you, Dave. It's a low response. But I thought myself, out of 16 questions, 13 have all trended down. To me, that's disheartening.
What's that? Sorry?
Out of 16 questions, when you look at the little charts where it shows
Satisfaction.
like what it's doing over the year, 13 of those questions all trended down.
It was going up until 2022 for a
Yeah.
lot of these, and then it went down a bit. That being said, right, could be a correlation based on when the survey was issued.
Because the only two that went up were, how would you rate townships' tourist attractions? That would make sense to me that that went up. And then one of the last ones was, I think it was, special events scored even.
Yeah.
Didn't go up, didn't go down. And the other one that went up was rating the township's protective services. You'd be happy to know. But 13 out of 16 questions all trended down.
Yeah, I noticed that too, yeah.
It's a lot of trending now. And I take Dave's, I think 42 is abysmal. So I have thought, not for today, but for future. We have a policy. Is it procedural? I'm not sure which policy it is. It talks about having an open meeting once a year. We wouldn't have done that before because of COVID, right? Because you can't have an open town hall meeting. But I would challenge you to if we had an open meeting, I don't know, June, and we had presentations by Aqua, and presentations by the fire department, and presentations by finance committee, and presentations by Public Works, presentation by Nathan. Do you know what I mean? And then had an open session with mayor and council. You take that bad boy with Schreiber Media Services, and then he can put it out. If you couldn't go here,
Yeah.
you can watch this section at this time and invite people out. Because to me, and you're right, it's only, a lot of it's from 21, 22 that's been trending down, but it's been trending down. I wonder, I just am curious to know if you wouldn't get a better feel for some of these questions. I don't know.
I think it's a great idea. I know that I've done the survey in the past. I don't really even have a computer at home. You know, we use phones now. I have one in my office, but to do the survey on a phone is kind of a pain, really. And I think a lot of people are probably in that say. I know a lot of people still do have computers. A lot of people have tablets. Where it's a little easier, but yeah, I think there's a lot of people that are, I don't know, maybe old school thinkers. Like
Yeah.
let's get out and have a conversation.
Better communication. And I mean, I know that a lot of people are a little nervous with open meetings, but, because you never know what you're gonna get, which is a fact. But I think it would give a presentation, like, I know, Tammy and I had talked about this, about everything that Aqua does for water and sewer. I had no idea. And I said, really, they're the ones who are manning these systems. She's overseeing it for sure. That's part of our responsibility. But wouldn't it be nice to get them out, the people that actually work out there? Right?
Like, were you thinking like open forum or
Well, I
like?
think you have presentations. Economic development would make a presentation, and Aqua would do a presentation, and ask the OPP to come in. They give us reports, make a presentation.
Yep.
Ask the fire department to come in, make a presentation. Get a 15, 20-minute presentation done, and be prepared to take a couple of questions. And if you can't answer them, we'll put them aside, and we'll bring them up at a council meeting. To have a mayor and council sit around with you, emceeing a round table with mayor and council. I mean, I just think that you might get more than you bargained for, but people couldn't say, I don't know about water and sewer, and I don't know about what the fire department's doing, and I don't know what's going on in economic development. Because it seems to me a lot of these are, some of these answers are a little, for sure, uninformed.
Yep.
In one sense, but I think too, that goes to us, because we're not informing them.
The communications piece is what you say always difficult. We do have a lot of our decisions and all do happen during these meetings, right? Where we go over what things are purchased. You have a discussion on the reasons why you're doing a certain purchase. Council itself, you guys, will bring up questions that you hear from the public, right? And we'll ask staff and administration, why is it that, you do this? Why haven't you considered this? So a lot of those questions are heard, but unfortunately, like the message hasn't necessarily gone out to the rest of the public, right? And it's always more complex, nuanced than anything than it typically seems, right? People will say, well, you can quickly do, you can just do this. I hear, for instance, another one I see quite often is, right, putting that sort of blocking divider for the snow removal, right, to prevent windrows on people's yards. It's practical in a farming community, right, and perhaps if you're looking for a bigger budget and you have more staff and time, it may be possible. But for 3 people,
And your snow removal could take 9 hours?
yeah, we have 3 staff members, and there's always, in any sort of service, there's always those 3 elements of scope, cost, and time. And we have to optimize all three. And
But isn't that good information to put out there and sit across and say, that's why we would love to, but we can't.
My only concern would be some of the feedback that moves more into the, like, we filtered a lot of in there. It's,
Yes, some of the, I got some of the more extreme
Yeah.
answers.
I can tell you, a lot of staff have found, what you say, some of that sort of commentary a bit disheartening, where it's.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I mean, you got You got people all over the place. I look at it as 50-50. We don't need as many parks. We gotta green up some parks. The heck with the parks. Like, they're on,
Right.
it's,
Some of these comments come in year after year, same ones, same
I
comment.
mean, in saying what I said, there's a lot of good information here, but
Yeah.
how much time do we want to spend on it today? Like, there's
No.
there's some good questions.
There is some good
Some
questions.
good information.
Yeah.
It's difficult too when you look at, like, you look at bylaw, right, and it's 50% of the community wants bylaw enforced very strictly, and the other 50 does not want any bylaw enforcement.
Right. I understand that.
And then it's interesting going through, right, and there's contradictory things, and then where there are certain elements where it's like, again, we don't have a choice when, on some elements, we're obligated to do snow removal, like,
Well,
there's
absolutely.
not a choice about it, so.
Like what about the special events and all that? Need more yard sales. We need more outdoor music, live music, arts and special entertainment. I mean, that's what we were talking about,
Yeah.
beside the splash pad.
Yeah,
I mean, it's getting done, but it'll get done when there's grants.
Right.
My main takeaway
But
is
but
that,
if we go back to Dave's comment, it says 42 people, and you both are just telling me it's the same people responding the same way year after year. You don't think you'd get more out of a public setting? Where you had other people beside you making presentations and saying, let me tell you what's going on with the fire department?
I would say yes to the public meeting, but I wouldn't put our staff or employees in a position where someone could stand up and yell at them. I would say it would just be us.
Okay.
And we deliver the information about each department like you're
We could do
talking
that.
about. I don't
Sure.
think that's fair to them.
Okay, well
Like, I
then,
don't need
yeah,
someone yelling at
exactly.
Jan for no reason. I
Yeah,
don't think they should be put in that's our job to be yelled at.
yeah.
so then maybe we do that. We ask them for presentations and
Yeah.
everyone that holds a portfolio says, here, I'm gonna
That's what we've done,
update you
like,
on this.
Years, that first time I was on council, we used to do them and it was just council and the CEO.
Sure, well, let's do that. Well, I'm just saying, I think between having a public meeting and have it videoed and presented that way, I think you get a lot more than 42 people watching it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's worth a try, certainly worth a try.
This was, Nathan, it's not that it's a bad job, I'm not saying that, but this was put up as a budget survey to help us in our budgeting decisions. Correct? Am I wrong with that? How helpful is this?
There's some good information on there,
There's some,
I think.
yeah.
from a data perspective, you're gonna get, what do you say, two streams of data. One is qualitative and one's quantitative. It's hard to, what you say, ultimately from making evidence-based decisions, you wanna see the kind of calculated satisfaction within certain levels of services. That only gives you a number, and then you can chart it out on where it's going, so you know it's going down. At least the qualitative then gives you some idea of what perceptions people have or what's upsetting them to say, why it is going down. And then you can see specifically, like, people have all kinds of issues of what it may be, whether it's perceived for timing, that certain things are done, whether it's just general frustration on like one very specific element of how it personally affects them. So it's, again, finding that balance and getting an idea, what you say, the feedback from the general public to ultimately help you guys determine the level of service that you're ultimately comfortable with, right? And that's where the budget implication comes in. How it is reflected, though, these specific departments within the budget is far more complex, because
Yes.
we've put the questions into these specific elements, but when it's conveyed into GLs, that's a different story. You're gonna get things separated very different ways.
Very good.
There's-
That's just my suggestion.
There's different forms of feedback, certainly focus groups.
Right, I just
town
found like
halls.
13 out of 16 responses trending down. I thought,
The timing of the survey was also during the poker run.
Yeah, again, there's like, township is doing the best they can, being a small community, 100% thumbs up. There's good comments throughout,
there are good
but we're
comments.
focusing on the negative.
Yeah, I don't
And
think,
there is negative, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, and I take that seriously too. But there is some positive in there
There is
too.
some positive, you're right.
I don't think we should get bogged down on negative comments.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But when 81% of 81% of your responses are trending down from one year to the next, that's gotta raise a red flag to somebody besides me.
Yeah, but, you know, again, are you capturing, who are you capturing by the survey?
That's what I say, I don't know how much time we want to spend on it. We could go through every comment and
I think the main takeaways are when people suggest some sort of, creative ideas for perhaps looking into certain elements.
Yeah.
And there may be an opportunity to ask questions as to, why or why not, we may implement a certain idea.
Yeah.
You see repeated things that pop up. I think the main thing is communicating that out. If it is what you say, ongoing area frustration. So, and yeah, it's difficult sometimes to get the feedback, but ultimately it's in order to improve, you need to hear it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
so
What, are you listening?
when would you think about having a public meeting?
June, September? You haven't had one? for a
No, we
while?
haven't had one for a
Well,
while.
because you couldn't. I mean, with COVID, you really couldn't,
No,
right?
no, you couldn't.
And sometimes these meetings are a chance, and it's something that I've spoken with a couple of you about, to be able to share information about what was actually accomplished.
Oh, no, I'm not against the meeting.
All right, no, I'm just
I'm not
saying.
against
I'm
it.
just saying, it's just a thought, just because I like Dave thought, that's not very many responses, and with 81% of them trending down, it's a little alarming. And I think a lot of it is, you're quite right. There's a lack of understanding about how things go,
Yeah.
or what rules we're bound by, but then my solution to that is, well, then let's just tell them.
Yeah, I mean, another trend, right, is there's quite a demand for, what you say, quite a lot of services at a very high level, but at the same time, when you go to the page where it's, when it comes to
How
you want
much
your
it
taxes to go up,
Yep.
it's don't put it down, right?
Yeah.
So the ongoing challenge that, I'm faced with is we have one of the smallest staff complements along the
Oof.
North Shore
You do.
for a community of our size.
Yes,
Look at the staffing in Marathon.
even in
compared to
Terrace,
here.
right?
Even in Terrace.
It's, I know.
All, there was a lot of comments for snow removal and all. You're paying just
We've got 3 men,
three
yeah.
staff members.
Yeah,
So you have to also look at balance that, right?
Yes.
In terms of your inputs versus outputs for those certain service.
there.
No, we'll definitely talk about having a public meeting for sure.
And then,
Okay,
on to budget.
so fire department,
Oh, could we, if possible, could we do the 2022 balances first? I think that might be most beneficial.
did I miss some?
It's a paper, it is a paper copy.
Oh, okay.
2022 balances?
Yeah, so it'll be the one that's color coded.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So this is where, I was saying when we were talking about the budget variance report earlier, that
Mhm.
the spreadsheet has more of what the estimates are right now for revenues in capital. Whereas the budget variance report doesn't show that because it hasn't been set up in the financial system yet. Like the revenue, you haven't accrued, the receivables for the grants yet.
Okay,
So if you, probably the most beneficial is to start with the expenses to see what projects you had budgeted and where we are with what's completed.
expenses, okay? Now, sorry, Marlene. Once again, these were planned in 2022 but did not occur in 2022?
No, the expenses listed are
Yes.
all of everything that was planned and where you are at this point in time.
Okay,
And then, I mean, for example, the purchase of the 2006 ALF pumper wasn't planned, but it is showing up on here as a purchase because it was approved after the budget was approved, right?
Okay.
so hold on, budget, action, I'm just gonna write this under budget, action. Okay, so for instance, general administration, accessibility doors, most buildings, we had budgeted 70,000, right?
Correct,
And the actual we spent was 26,767.
that's correct.
And you're saying that's not on the variance?
No, the expenses are on the variance report.
Okay,
The
this-
revenues are not.
Or not, okay. Budgeted actual. Specifically the ALF pumper, there was money, we had planned to move money from reserve for that, no?
Yes, so if you look at the top, you'll see that there's the corresponding revenue is showing up in the revenue section.
Okay. All right, so that's gonna balance that out. Okay, so total expenses budgeted was 2.7 million. Total expenses actually spent 1.7. Is that what you're saying in that bottom line?
Yes,
And are some of these expenses things that need to carry over to 23?
yes,
Some but not all.
correct. So for example,
So which ones would you expect are gonna carry over to 23?
so earlier on the agenda, you have your process optimization filter study.
Right?
That's 35,000. I don't have that as an expense right now because I'm waiting to find, like, the expense will say 0, but once you pass the resolution to put the transfer through, right, there
That'll
will be
move it
an
to 23.
Yes,
So go down, I'm just gonna hold on, star 23. Okay, so the optimization study is gonna move ahead to 23. What else?
this data updates,
Up 23, okay?
Loader.
What
the
else?
loader will, yep,
The loader,
yeah.
that's gonna move ahead, okay?
Dam inspection,
The dam inspection and repairs, phase 1 is complete, but you will see that on 2023 there is an amount for phase 2.
But we have this amount that was left over from 2022,
That's right.
okay? Anything else being moved over? Handy transit van.
Yeah, but you won't do a transfer at your end because that was being funded fully from reserve, so it just stays in reserve.
Okay, so this has no financial impact?
No.
Okay,
And you will see that the community revitalization, all of the total expenses are in there, but none of the revenue has been recorded yet, because that's a pretty complex calculation at year end, which is the same as the playground equipment.
Okay, so what's this bottom line here, taxation drawdown required, what are you showing? Can you explain that line?
So where we budgeted, that was the amount, that was budgeted in 2022 for your capital, the net cost of your capital projects. So if I was to take out that 749 for the community revitalization, because there isn't the corresponding revenue in there, it ends up that your tax drawdown right now is like just over 220,000. But it will net out once the revenues, the split between the province, the feds, because it's funded multi-layered.
There's several funders for the one project.
Exactly, and it's a project that is carried over into 2023 because it's not completed at the end of 2022.
Okay.
So yet another year.
Revenues, 1850. So, okay. So that's where that ATF feasibility study, so that was supposed to be there, but we didn't actually spend it, but we didn't actually use, there's a revenue marker beside it.
Yeah.
So that again, that's no impact.
Correct.
There's that loader thing. 4036. Marlene, on the revenue side, this, under community revitalization, the provincial, the federal, and the borrowing, all that whole piece, is that what you're talking about offsets those expenses on that side?
Yes.
But we don't have final reports to say these are done.
That's right.
Is that what we're waiting for?
Because basically, right, a portion of that, although the 2022 budget was passed saying that you were expecting to borrow the entire amount of the unfunded amount, likely in 2023, because the project should be complete, there may be where we'll look at the transfer from reserve and then
Right.
borrowing the rest of it, basically. So that will look a little different on when we get to the 2023 wish list.
But we already identified where we're getting that out of the reserve, correct?
I don't believe it has been formally,
Okay, we haven't done it formally, but.
not formally, no, and that would be because the project is not, it has been a very multi-year project, right?
Okay,
Sorry, what was that?
It has not formally been decided where, there's been some discussion
Okay.
that where it come from.
Okay. Okay, so that's gonna go with that variance report. All right. You guys got questions?
Right now, no. Not about that. Are we moving to the wish list now?
Yeah, if nobody has any other questions?
I don't have any-
So the wish list portion, oh my God, that's hard to say. Does include both of the updated fire department capital request as well as the capital that's on the Aqua. So the Aqua was at the January 31st meeting originally, so those items have been incorporated into this preliminary capital wish list.
Okay, but some of these items that are on this preliminary wish list are actually on these as well, on their individual department wish list.
Yes, they've been incorporated into that list.
Okay,
Right, because ultimately when you go to pass your budget, you will be using the full complete list to make a decision.
I'm lost, Marlene, I'm lost on this transfer from PDGT reserve for the handy transit.
That is the purchase of the new handy transit in 2023, so that is the provincial dedicated gas tax funds.
So we're slated to purchase a new handy transit vehicle?
We've been slated to purchase a new handy transit vehicle probably for 2 years at least, if not.
Yeah. Does that have any bearing on what we're doing with the one that was just damaged in an accident?
I would suggest, like, I don't think that there's any information on that one yet, but
No.
I believe that the goal was to have, it was 2021 we were supposed to purchase a new one. The idea is to purchase a new van every 5 years, because we get annual funding from the gas tax.
Okay,
I'll be reporting at February 28th meeting on handy transit status, where we are with all of that.
so irregardless of that status though, we're still buying a new unit is what you're telling me.
I would
But it's
say
all
that-
completely funded.
That would be the recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
We generally go towards getting a brand new vehicle. You don't have to worry so much about maintenance within the initial years. And since this money is, slated towards that use,
right.
might as well use it and
Right,
get a
gotcha.
reliable
The
vehicle.
trade-in value this time around might be reduced a little bit.
Right.
It's this niche. You guys might not be able to haul around it.
So but the handy transit van is 100% funded. And it's going to leave us a balance remaining in that reserve because we didn't purchase a new one in 2021?
I think the reserve balance right now is somewhere around 246.
Yeah, it is. 246 and you're saying we're gonna spend 150. Okay. All right. And when you can, maybe, I think you've tried to explain this to me before. That Ontario Street reline thing.
I don't know if I tried to explain it to you, but no, they have dirty water over there. Here and there.
Just to clarify, like the water is clean, it's not dirty
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, no, every so often, I'll let Tammy speak to it.
This is a street reline.
It's the water main will be
Okay.
relined, so
Oh,
that section
inside.
of pipe.
Yeah.
You're not
Is-
relining
No,
street.
not
No.
moving.
Because it says street reline, I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
a water main reline, because that section of pipe, there's two sections on Ontario Street that are older infrastructure than the rest of it. So by relining it, you dig a hole at one end, dig a hole at the other end, and then the process is to reline it with plastic, well, that's whatever material that is. And then they can just bury both ends again, and it's done, we're not digging up roads
And this is slated for,
this year.
this is a wish list for 2023.
We have received grant money
Yeah,
to make
fine.
it happen this spring.
Yeah. And it is completely funded?
No,
Okay,
To 73%, I believe.
73%?
I think our shares are just over 137,000 of,
Actually, I was just talking to Tammy yesterday or the day before about it, that when it's gonna be going.
Okay,
Because, yeah, it depends what's happening in the area and all that, like, certain homes get some
Russ,
Discoloration.
rustic water and that, then the guys will go out and flush it and everything be okay. But like Tammy says, I think when they did the water main back when, there was a couple sections that, I'm not gonna say missed, that they didn't do because of whatever reason. And now's the time to do it.
Now's the time to do it.
To do it. We decided to reline it instead of
digging the whole thing up and
digging
replace
the
it.
whole thing up and replacing.
Okay.
Yep.
And we're only on the hook for 27%.
That's correct.
Okay.
On the
It's in there,
funding is through the ICIP Green Stream. We applied for water distribution
Yeah.
projects.
provincial portion,
There's a provincial grant portion and a federal grant portion.
right.
But you're telling me that's 73% of the whole project is funded, the rest we're on the hook for.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's right in whatever the maximum amount is. We're hoping that once we, do a tender, that hopefully it's not going to be anything more. Because if anything goes beyond that funding limit, right, then we'll have to pay beyond that 73%. It'll be 100% funded for us.
So here, for instance, on the second page, it's got Ontario Street reline, 517,000. So that is the expense that we think it's going to be. And then here is the revenue piece of it here.
Which would be discounting it.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
That tender, Tammy's worked with Tech Consulting. It should be going out at the end of this month.
Yep.
So by sometime in March, we'll bring a potential contract to council.
Tender opportunity closes March 17th. So it'll be the last meeting of March before we have something.
And we're hoping to get the job done in June.
June, yep.
Yeah, so all this stuff that's on this wish list, I mean, how do we sort through this? I mean, I don't even know what's priority here.
Yeah, because like even this, so we got a provincial grant for WWTV, which is that water ESA building upgrades. We got a grant. Then we have an expense over here, but we have it partially completed, I think, in 2022. Because there's the same line here saying you had expected expenses of 200,000, but we only spent 182.
For what are you looking at? I'm sorry. ESA?
WWTP ESA building upgrades.
Yeah, there's actually 5 phases in that. Go ahead, Maureen.
yeah, no, I wasn't used to,
Oh,
the
the
initial
water.
question, was how do we go about looking at these
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
So what I would say is, take the time to look it over, ask any questions that you have about any of the projects. When the tax policy report comes on the 28th, that's gonna tell you what your starting point is for 2023, from a levy perspective, to see whether, whether you're looking at an increase already without making any decisions whatsoever, right? It depends on what happens to your impact results and how that ends in the year. And then so on the 28th, council's gonna get scenarios that say, this is what your tax rate will do if you put through X number of percentage levy increase, and this is what you do. So that kind of gives you an idea of what you wanna work for. Staff needs to sit and look at what really is in here as a priority
Yeah.
project, because we know we can't do everything at the end of the day, right? But these are all the things that have been identified at this
Yes.
point in time, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? To priority or ones that, hey, by the way, we got this grant, we gotta use it or lose it. Like, we can't tell by this list.
And what you're committed to,
Yeah,
right? So
what we've
you're,
already said we're gonna do.
yeah,
Like buy a handy transit van.
the handy transit is a committed thing. Really, your turnout gear is gonna be a committed thing.
Meanwhile,
Your,
boiler.
ESA building upgrades, for
Right.
sure. You've already passed the VFD under the wastewater.
The loader,
The butterfly.
The loader's
cord,
already done, yeah.
Butterfly valve.
Yeah.
the trackless,
No, that's not already done.
That's-
That literally is a wish.
Yeah.
is a
But
wish.
it would be helpful, I think, to know that though,
Yeah,
after looking at this list, because there's a lot of projects on here.
Mhm.
Yeah. Because I would have said, if it means we don't have to increase taxes, we're not buying a handy transit, done. But then I would know that, oh, well, listen, you got the money for it, you gotta spend it. It's hard to make these decisions not knowing those things.
Yeah, that's why the first one is all color coded. Because I prefer to color code the revenue and the expense so that you know that how it's covered and what is taxation and what isn't. So I would say at this point in time, there isn't really anything that, like there isn't a decision. It really is for reference and to ask questions about projects to, if you want us to bring anything in more detail.
Okay, so
I
let's
have
go,
some questions.
yeah, go ahead. Dave.
The dam inspection then, it still says 35,000, but shouldn't it say 11,000 for the wish? Cause that's what's left? Or is this another thing to do?
No,
with
this
the
is
dam?
phase 2. This is Vector, right?
So-
Yes.
But we still have to finish phase 1,
No,
Nope.
phase 1 was completed last year.
and that's the 23,000.
That is correct. And then we're looking at 26,000 to repair the spillway.
So the 35 is, so that should be 26,000? Not 35,000 on the wish list?
35 is there because that was my guess, and I just received the actual quote today.
Okay,
it's
so it's
26.
26. And then I had a question, so the emergency generators that you have for the 2 buildings, the one that we have that you showed us on that tour, was that a usable thing? For one of these, for community hall one or the municipal complex one? I mean, no one's mandating that we have an emergency generator, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But you're right, there was
But
that
there's one
generator.
sitting there,
There's
right?
one
You
sitting
showed
there.
it, you showed
That's
it
right.
to us.
I do believe that that one can be used. It just needs to have Gal Power or somebody like that come in and do an overhaul on it,
Yeah.
but I believe it can be used.
Okay.
That is one of those projects. It's been on our wish list for a while, but inevitably, gets a chop. Ideally, you'd want to utilize a grant
But
in
if
order
you
to take
could,
advantage of it.
but if you could cost effectively fix something we have and choose one
Yeah.
of those buildings to put it at, that makes more sense to me.
Jan had a comment there.
Because you designate this building under the town's emergency plan, is
It
it
should be this
USC, you're also guaranteeing that it has a backup power source.
So that generator, an IE would then have to go here.
Community hall,
Ideally.
Yeah.
not a priority. Got it.
Now, I would say also that under your emergency plan, you designated the hall
As a backup?
As not as the backup, but as the reception center and evacuation center where you're telling everybody to go.
Yeah.
So,
That's important too.
It has advantages of having the kitchen, showers, washrooms, and you can set up beds in the hall, right? So
Again, not mandated. Cool. And then you have the brine flush, but aren't we getting a filter system, so are we still gonna have to do a brine flush?
She said no.
Yeah,
If we had a new filter, we don't need a brine.
That's what I understood.
at this
Right.
point, yeah,
That's
that's
right.
what I
So that
understood too.
can go bye-bye.
You would think so.
Keep in mind that this list was compiled like
No, no, I
No,
know, I'm just asking a
no.
question.
Listen,
things have been
Yeah.
But that's what I'm
developing,
saying,
right?
it's hard, but it's hard for
Yeah.
us to see, like, yeah.
I mean, okay, and then I know I'm gonna upset someone, but, the white sand dock,
Thought that was only $5,000 last year.
yeah.
Well,
How did it go to-
Oh,
No,
so-
there's an outhouse
So
in
that
there.
is actually the dock and the outhouse,
And
and
the
we've
outhouse.
actually applied to the special grant through the seniors active living center for that.
So, I don't have to worry about it?
No.
Like, okay, so I'm crossing it off.
Wait a second, you're using seniors funding?
The Whites on Lake.
Yes, your,
That's for
the,
special
the
grant.
application for, it is an application for a special grant.
It's not
to
running the center.
promote the, intergenerational, which is a main component of the senior center right now, is to encourage intergenerational gatherings, social gatherings, recreation. So that's what,
At Walker's Lake.
no,
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 no.
I know Walkers or White Sand.
White
What
Sand.
have I read?
White sand.
Walker's is in Schreiber. I'm just being a smart. Sorry.
There's nothing to
The
say that we'll
massaging that
get the
went on with
grant.
that makes me feel a little dirty, quite truthfully.
I don't.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Okay, and then I have another. I think that was all of my questions right now.
What about Blue Park rehab?
Oh yeah, I had a question about that too. Sorry, do you have one? Go for it.
No, go
I was
ahead.
gonna ask like what are the details behind that? Is that like a total get the park and totally replace the whole thing, or
That is, we are by law required to inspect playgrounds on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, and a big inspection annually. That park has come up showing a lot of safety defects, and it should be replaced.
So with the-
Either taken out and not have anything there, or replace the
So
playgrounds.
with our new park downtown do we need to spend 135 on that park?
That's your call.
Yeah, so something to think about.
I didn't catch, Dave, what, all of what you had taken.
I just struggle spending money
No, I know, but I like
for
to
something
highlight
that's
it.
not
Yeah.
in Schreiber.
No, I'm just looking to see, you talked about the generators, right? Those are the
Yeah.
things that you
Yeah.
had, you guys had highlighted to take out, right?
Well,
No, we haven't, we've been made aware we've got a generator that's
yeah.
surplus.
Okay.
That could be retrofitted and used.
Okay, I thought I missed something there.
No, no.
You're still gonna be looking at some money to to revamp that, generator
Yeah.
and the install, of course.
Yes,
Not
But probably not-
this number.
yeah.
No,
Okay.
And I'm almost scared to ask, but is 53, that number there for truck purchase, is that bare bones?
that is a bare bones cost.
Cakes, I remember not long ago it was 20,000.
The only option I put on that is a trailering package.
Well, you need that.
This is
Everything else
a
is different.
straight up purchase?
Straight up.
We don't lease vehicles?
No.
Because we have too much money?
Not my call. I just know that
Why
we,
don't you
Maybe
lease
they get,
vehicles?
maybe
We
they get
own
beat up too
vehicles.
bad.
I think anytime we looked at it, it was like, and I'm not speaking as here, but when I was working, it just never, and then it just never worked out. The lease it didn't make sense at the time. And then we talked about leasing, I'm going something different here, but we talked about leasing a grader versus buying one, and it just blew your socks off, 14 grand a month. And that was just for 6 months and get rid of it just have it during the winter when you needed it, kind of thing. And so they nailed you no matter what, because they were nailing you 14,000 to lease it a month for 6 months, like 14,000 a month.
Right.
So you'd have to convince me that leasing's cheaper.
your fleet is very aged and
You
none
think?
of your vehicles owe you anything. You've been.
No,
Oh, no.
You
No.
know, by owning them, you've gotten a lot more years out of them than what you would have out of a lease.
but is the cost been higher or lower?
That's
Well,
right,
that
what
would be
we pay
something-
for them over the-
I'm just thinking people with smaller fleets than us are leasing vehicles,
It
and
was-
there's gotta be for instance, I'll give you for instance, there's, Nippigan tends to lease vehicles. Not all, but I'm just wondering if you wouldn't get newer vehicles sooner for less money than buying them out
there's some benefits, and
Yeah.
it comes down to a strategy altogether, right? So if you're looking at a lease fleet model, some good benefits is that you have no bumps in your operating costs when you suddenly,
Yeah.
well, it'll be a capital cost when you're purchasing it outright, or if you're gonna finance it, then it will go into your operating. But if you're leasing year after year for a certain vehicle, right, it has a benefit in that this is the price for all these vehicles, you don't have to worry about it. Also, when it comes to the maintenance element, right, based on what's covered under the lease, based on the mileage, all of that has to,
Be worked out.
yeah, have to be worked out. If we're gonna be purchasing a vehicle one time, right, and we're gonna keep it, the plan is to keep it for however many years, and at the same time, we want to look into, again, maintenance plans for it indefinitely, the tires and all that come with it. So it is pretty much strategy, two very different models. What works out better, you have to do an analysis and put it onto, an Excel spreadsheet.
Right, but you're thinking like, just think, like this is one vehicle purchase. So you're thinking probably not worth it. If we were maybe looking at buying 3 or 4, that might be a different thing.
Yeah, I think it's cleaner if you think of it as a strategy for your fleet altogether and plan it that way. When it comes to specific vehicles, that may work better for your construction equipment when you're considering that. Economies of scale, you may get a better deal, right, if you're looking at a whole fleet altogether with a company. It may be more lucrative to them to work out a better deal for us. So
Right.
it is something to look into. It's the strategy is on how you intend to use that vehicle, how often you intend to use the vehicle, and the maintenance strategy that's you're considering for the vehicle. So something like that, you would have to really sort of compare an ownership model versus a lease model.
Right.
It would take some time to do, right? So.
Okay, no, just a question.
So I should deliberate the truck. Do you need to know what's the matter with the truck that we're proposing to replace? Do you want to know what the issues are?
Well, I would say on the tour, looking at the one truck that you did show us, which probably is in better
That's
shape.
not the one that needs
Which
to be replaced.
which is probably in better shape, which is not saying much than this. It's
Yeah.
gonna be pretty horrid.
It is. The motor is really bad.
Is this the red one?
This is the red
Yeah.
one. Yeah, it's a 2013. It's burning oil on the third cylinder, requires new plugs every 3 weeks. Valve guide is gone. Add a liter of oil every week. Transmission doesn't shift. The oil leak by the water pump. Water pump is about to fail. It's rotten. There's no power. It's a 2-wheel drive and the body is rusty.
How many kilometers on that, Ken?
I'm guessing. I thought he told me. I'm not sure. I'd only be guessing.
Yeah.
I'll have to
That
look
would
at
be
that.
considered into your lease, say, like, you're only allowed so many.
Probably not that.
Yeah, I can't
No.
imagine they get much mileage.
No, because when you go through companies like GE Capital or big
Probably
fleet
not a
companies,
whole lot, I bet.
no,
Yeah,
you'd be surprised. Companies that do, like, specifically like GE Capital, big companies like that who do fleets like this, you would be surprised
like how many kilometers they put on a year, you mean?
for what
Oh,
you're
yeah.
using.
But the cost goes up, right? If you're using more than, say, 20,000 kilometers a year, your cost of leasing.
Commercial leasing's a little bit different than
Okay.
regular leasing.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that means something to look into
Yeah.
for sure, so.
I had some more questions, sorry.
No, you go ahead, Dave.
The roof repairs, is that a number to go to all those buildings you have listed?
Yeah, I'm waiting for a concrete estimate on that. I've been waiting on this company for a while, but they're waiting for suppliers to supply them with numbers for material. But we're not proposing to replace any roof in its entirety. We're talking about repairing spot leaks and replacing ice guards that are
Right.
bent and falling off.
Okay. And then the next line, that it says, security count, what's FR?
Fitness room.
Thank you. And then, why do we need security cameras at the splash pad? that doesn't sit well with me personally, as a parent. So I don't know if you could lower that cost, because I'm not in favor of cameras watching kids play at a splash pad.
I'm in huge favor of it after watching what happened up in Thunder Bay, and that's where it came up.
They have cameras at their splash
They,
pads?
they had, no, they didn't have cameras, and somebody cut off all the heads or noses on all their wood sculptures. And there's some artists went there and put all wood sculptures and everything, or they did have cameras and it saved them. So I'm in, if you're gonna do $1 million investment, what's?
Yeah, no, I know, as long as
Why
there's.
wouldn't you put up 2 cameras?
I just don't.
I mean, you put up
Is
your
it-
signs that this place is monitored by
Okay,
cameras.
as long as it's appropriate, that's all.
It's just, so you're just thinking for, it's a protection thing.
Yeah, no, I
preventing-
understand the purpose of it, I just, as long as it's
Oh, I
done in
didn't.
an appropriate,
Yeah, just
Yeah.
to protect the,
the air, the
When
general
you get
area.
injuries at playgrounds
Yeah.
like that, oftentimes the reports don't match what you
Yeah,
actually see on
so-
the camera.
So for
So
liability.
it's for liability,
That
it
too,
certainly
yeah.
protects you.
Yeah. And if you have a list of rules,
Mhm.
and-
Cameras at our schools.
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So for vandalism, for injuries, for, just to make sure that it's all being used appropriately.
Okay, and then, the east wall repair, is that a cosmetic thing?
So I've got a number of different options on that. Vector has provided a quote to replace the brick, which is, it is cosmetic. So if we replace the damaged brick that's back there, we're looking at 64,000. If we replace all of the caulking and re-caulk it all, we're looking at 10,000. I'm still waiting on a company out of Thunder Bay that is looking to match the steel siding that's on the top. If we can match the color, then we would strap it and just put the metal siding on it. Haven't got the final price on that yet.
Okay, when you were talking about that, I meant to ask you that yesterday, that recaulking of it, for 10 grand. Would they, maybe you don't know yet, but would they, replace the bricks that are broken, doing it that way too?
Doing that job on the corners,
Like there's what,
we
May-
talked a little bit about that, so what he's thinking, when he talked about replacing the corner bricks, that was when we were fixing the back wall and we could take some of the good bricks and move them over to the corner. But if we're not taking any bricks off, then it becomes an issue to match the existing brick that's up there. So he was looking at supplies for that, and but likely when they do the caulking, he's thinking that they might be able to patch over top of those and secure them again. The
But
other
I-
option is just to make your corners, come down with your corners with metal siding.
right? But I know the last guy that give the costing for the brick, found the same brick up in Thunder Bay, so.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, that was 2 years ago, and it could be totally changed now, but
cemetery, Worthington Bay, clear land, and the tree removal.
So Worthington Bay Cemetery, it's going to be expensive to develop that cemetery. The existing cemetery in town is getting full for full plots. There's not a lot of space left. We have created some cremation plots last year when we poured our curbing. So I've got the cemetery broke down into a 5-year plan so that it's affordable and we can get it established and it'll be ready for when you do need it. Otherwise, if you wait to the last minute again and all of a sudden you're out of room and you need the cemetery right now, it could cost you upward of 200, 300,000 to get it developed. So 20,000 to cut the trees up there to clear the land. And then I propose following year leveling it, planting the grass. Then third year, possibly having the surveyors in and measure out all the plots, identify everything, the roads, and the fence is already there. So you need signage. Then, of course, after we plant the grass, we need to maintain it this time, because it is my understanding that we've cut the trees in there once before. And then the tree removal that you're referring to is the damaged trees in the existing cemetery. And there's one on Ontario Street that needs to come down.
It's more or less, again, a service-related question. Right now, right, the service you do provide does include full burials. Seeing less demand with the cost, it's
Yeah.
moving towards more, towards the columbariums, but something to keep in mind. If you want to continue this service level, it will be then critical to have plans to develop this Worthington Bay Cemetery. And, you know, ultimately, if we do clear cut, you do want to make sure that we are taking care of that lot there and going ahead with these plans to make it operational, just so we don't have the trees all growing again.
So how would you, who would do that? Like, I mean, you would want to go in there and remove the roots and everything, like rip it all up.
So I spoke to Mi'kwa, which is Heron Bay contracting company. They just did Jackfish Hill. They have the big excavator with the grinders, and they
Right.
go back. They go right down into the roots and stuff. It's my understanding that the last time it was cleared, most of the stumps and roots were taken out at that point. However, if we get Heron Bay to do it, we have to get permission from Pace Plat to allow them.
Yeah.
Because their boundary is only at the Blackbird Creek, so anything on this side, they'll need permission from Pace Plat to do it. But there is no other company close other than pulling them out of Thunder Bay to have somebody come in and
Okay.
do the clear cutting.
Where's the boundary again? Blackbird Creek.
Blackbird Creek.
Where is that exactly?
It's down there around the airport.
Okay, all right.
Could we, for next meeting, could we get a report on how many full burial sites are left in Schreiber Cemetery? Because, I don't think this is urgent. I really don't.
The ATF to A6 feasibility study, that's fully, is that fully funded?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that's,
And then the
Yes.
arena boiler heating upgrade. That's a big number.
So for the 190,000 for the arena,
Yeah,
200.
200.
It
200,
says 200, but it says 200, the only reason it's in there, I forgot to put if we get a grant. That is what the conversation is, and you don't see the 200 up on the revenue part.
No, yeah.
So the plan with the furnace there is, right now it's currently rated for 600 BTUs, 600,000 BTUs for that building. It's actually a larger building than what this one is, and this one's rated at 1.5 billion BTUs. So it's incredibly undersized. The plan is to block off the vents that are blowing on top of the bleachers, take that heat, direct it to the domestic side of the arena. We would install the radiant heaters that you see in so many arenas across the province. That's more of the norm. So we'd install those. We'd install storage tanks, water storage tanks with on-demand water heaters, so that the Olympia is pulling its own hot water and not pulling heat away from the system.
And that would be all in that.
190. But we are applying for. a
Can we
grant.
do this but yeah, okay, so
Oh,
there's stuff that you're applying for a grant, but could you do this piecemeal? Like do part by part?
Block the heat, you don't wanna.
Depends, depends. You get the grant,
Well, if you get a grant, what if you don't?
Don't.
We likely won't be doing the project, what you say that this year without the grant. It
Yeah.
is one of those that, we have found a good fit with one of the grants here, so we want to maybe utilize that.
So on this wish list now, okay, so you're looking for a yes, no, or a maybe if you get a grant.
If we get a grant, we're anticipating only to pay 90% of this cost.
The grant will pay 90%.
Yeah, 10% of that.
Sorry.
cost.
I was gonna say, how's that a
10%.
deal?
That's not a good grant.
The worst grant.
My apologies.
No, that's okay.
Sometimes you say it backwards.
Hopefully that's not the new norm.
Just an update on the chiller. I did finally got the quote this morning from Simcoe for the new chiller. And just to explain the need for that, the brine goes through the chiller and the ammonia in the chiller cools that brine before it goes out to the floor to make ice. The situation in BC was there was a pinhole in one of the tubes inside that chiller and allowed the ammonia to escape. And there was, I think, 3 workers that were instantly killed with the ammonia
We
leak.
talked about that tour date, right?
That's right. Chiller expires next year in 2024, but it's 186,000 to replace.
So this Arena Ice Plant new chiller, 40,000.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Okay.
That's what I was told by the workers,
So I can
that
cross
it
it off
was
and put-
estimated at in the past. I got a current quote, came in this morning, 186,000.
So cross that off and change it to 186.
Yeah.
So I think I'd rather be looking at that price and having ice in the arena with the park on than having,
I'm just
than
thinking the
having
same
no,
thing. I'd rather
than
do
having
it.
no ice with a bunch of heat.
Is there a grant, maybe a grant for that as well?
Well, I think I would switch out your scope of what you're applying for your grant.
Yeah.
Instead of doing the heating,
We're thinking start with that
Yeah.
chiller. We don't want to have
Chiller.
anybody killed.
I think I would do the chiller.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a maybe if a grant.
And I got a response, 93,000 kilometers on the truck.
That's nothing really,
Yes.
for 10 years, yeah.
Probably
It sits though, right?
idles.
So if
Yeah.
you're leasing it, like, it'd be well under 20,000 kilometers a year.
Well, this is 10 years old.
Yeah, so 10,000 kilometers a year, that's all it's.
400 grand.
Okay. So that we've committed. Lighting, okay.
So when you say the chiller expires, are we gonna be regulated to change it? Like, there's gotta be, that's it, right?
I don't know who would regulate it. I haven't got that information for you, but I'm going to say that it's a pretty serious matter.
It's not like an expiration date on your milk.
I would think that TSSA might govern over that.
Well, it's like a pressure vessel, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's not, but it is kind of.
Yeah. So Tammy, this loader purchase from 2022, this 289,000, that we've already got funded.
Yes, we're waiting for delivery.
The $60,000 for the loader pickup broom attachment.
So currently you rent the sweeper from Terrace Bay every year to sweep the streets in Schreiber.
Okay.
And what we can do with the trackless, which is very limited and very labor intensive and it takes a long time, with the loader pickup room attachment, we could it picks up its own dirt, so it's not just moving the dirt, it's picking it up, and we could be a lot more efficient and get it done a lot quicker if we had that.
Do we know offhand what we pay Terrace Bay a year?
Can't be much. I mean, we sweep the town unless it's changed. What happened with our MT,
With the what?
with the trackless?
This year?
No, was sweeping the town.
Well, the
I know
track,
we do, don't get me wrong. I know we bring in the Terrace Bay sweeper the last couple of years to do the downtown and to pick up them piles, but the secondary streets, we usually
doing
do
with the
with the
trackless.
empty trackless.
Yeah.
So I would think.
So
you-
the winter sand at that point doesn't get picked up, it gets swept over to the shoulders.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And so you're, like, we're seeing a buildup of that, and you've seen some comments where people are looking for a gravel to be put down there because but, and like I said, it just takes a long time to accomplish, because you're looking at several passes with the trackless to get the width of the road. It can be done, it just would be a lot faster and a lot more efficient with a pickup.
And a lot more dust.
No, the new attachment comes with water attachment.
They all do.
But this, so if we got this broom attachment and had to use our trackless less, then we probably wouldn't have to buy a new one.
You would extend its life on it, yes.
Do you know
The
how
problem
much
with the
we pay for it?
trackless right now is, it's, hydrostatic, the tires can be replaced, no problem.
Okay,
But the transmission is hydrostatic and it's starting to wear out. Sometimes they have to put it in the lowest gear just to get the machine moving, and then they can put it in the proper gear to keep it going. So it's working for now, but it is getting there.
How old is that machine?
2016, I wanna say? Am I
was
wrong
gonna
on
say
that?
14,
I don't know what year it is.
maybe 16.
I don't, yeah,
I was gonna say 14, but it could be 16.
I think they'd last longer than that.
Yeah, it sure.
Maureen's.
I'll find that out for you,
Yeah.
cause I think it's older than that, actually.
Okay.
3,600 is what we paid Terrace Bay last year to sweep the streets.
3,600.
Yeah.
Yeah.
16 hours. And it was in 2020 that we did the blower attachment and the box attachment. It was just under 20,000 to do those two things
For
for the trackless.
the trackless. If you were a betting person, how much time do you think you save? If you had this, I mean, I'm not saying I wanna approve it, but this little
No.
pickup broom, does it save like half the time? If you got to do every street, including the secondary streets, and it picked up the sand.
We talked about wages, fuel, and.
I'm talking about wages and fuel, yeah.
I'd venture at least half the time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you could do a street probably 2 passes instead of 4.
Like, is this pickup broom attachment, if it takes less fuel, less worker time, and saves the life of the trackless, is 60,000 too much to? I don't know, just a question.
Granted, it's
Figure out.
probably gotta be on the last page, cuts. Would be my bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might make the last page.
Yeah, I gotcha. Plow Darling Maintenance Service Agreement. Is that new?
We paid for it last year. I think last year was the first time.
And for that 14, what are we getting? Sorry.
I'll have more detail on that for you. I'm still waiting for some stats from Cloud Darling himself, but with that contract, you get multiple visits a year to
Right.
service all of our equipment. They change the filters and the belts. They're on the rooftops. They take care of all of our appliances in all buildings. So our heating system will not fall in disrepair again. It's a constant watch. It's maintenance that they do on a regular basis. So you'll get your trips lumped in with other communities, so you're not paying, as opposed to like I don't have any heat today and I'm paying 100% of the trip for them to come down and get me heat. It's more preventative maintenance and.
But it doesn't include any of the parts. Is it just the labor or is it labor and parts?
No, we get a cut on the labor under this service agreement. The parts, we will pay depending on what the part is, but the filter and the belts are covered.
Okay.
So it eliminates surprises.
That's right.
And surprises
Just
are
minor
expensive, right?
maintenance.
Yeah. They tend to be.
Yeah, seems to be.
But we kind of figured, well, we did, well, I'm not gonna say that's a total surprise, but
Yeah,
the furnace here, but
that's
we
right.
kind of figured there was gonna be some
We have eliminated,
bigger costs, last year with them, cause
Yeah.
they were in rough shape.
yeah, all of the appliances. We,
And that takes care of your the air and the whole
Air
bit too,
conditioning,
just not your
everything.
heating
Yeah.
systems.
we eliminated some big trouble at the library and at Public Works. Public Works hasn't worked properly in a lot of years. It's now, both units are up and running. So, I mean, we have accomplished a lot with the contract.
We said we were gonna revisit it, didn't we? We revisited after 2 years or 3 years? I think 2 years, we said we'd revisit it
Yeah.
and see if it was worth it.
Okay.
I think your contract expires though at the end of February. So you would-
1 year,
This
or
is
1 year
one
contract,
year.
Marlene?
One-year
Okay.
contract, yeah.
So we'll go
Like-
1 more year and we'll see what they,
Yeah,
Gotcha.
What are the website upgrades get us?
That's,
That is Nathan
Yeah.
website upgrades.
Yeah,
there's that 5,000 for the phone study,
yeah, I remember something.
and the other 5,
We're currently looking, it's, we're looking at, upgrading our website to WAG2 accessibility. That being said, the challenge is gonna be if the government does an assessment where they go through our website, and then we may get a mandate that comes out saying your website is not meeting those WAG2 requirements. They may give me a timeline. Any of our AOD requirements, we usually have provincial ministry that does check on it. They usually do a survey. I have to do the survey reporting each year that tracks whether we're achieving compliance with accessibility requirements and the timeline that the province has stipulated. Our website does require a bit of work. It's not what you say, not very user-friendly to, is the feedback I get from quite a bit of people. We're working on that. It's just a challenge to upkeep on a regular basis, so we do want to simplify it and keep trying to achieve that accessibility as much as we can, and that's making, the readability of the website as easy as possible, and hopefully less clicking to get to where you need to go to as well. I know that's a bit of a challenge as well.
This TIC accessible door and rear access, was that always in the plan to put those in there?
no, that's a new request. However, there has been wire fed into the wall to that door in anticipation or hopes that we would eventually do it.
Okay.
It makes sense to do it since you have 2 wheelchair operators on the main building, front and exit. So it makes sense to get them at least into the VR car. Keep in mind though that you'll never get a wheelchair in the museum car. The aisle's just not wide enough.
I think we have to look at the accessible door. I really think, because there's other issues up there with that door. I haven't been there myself, but apparently there's a bunch of snow in the car.
I think
Going in under the door.
we've looked into that too with the weather stripping and whatnot.
But it's not, Yeah,
I know in the summer months that we had quite a bit of water and all that had gone in.
yeah, it's just gonna rot out.
I think from, it's a new facility we've done, the standards for accessibility, you know, it's, this day and age, you have to make everything as accessible as possible. So this, door operator, I think, would be really important.
And then there was talk about the walkway and ramp is coming off the rear parking area. So that, because there's quite a step coming up to the step, onto the deck from that rear parking area. So we were just going to make a long ramp to allow better access.
Okay.
Okay, I see you don't got any dollar figure beside the benches.
It's, I think we need to determine the scope, also what exactly you'd want to order, right, or repair. Part of it I know is that Tammy would have to do an inventory of what's existing too.
Yeah.
To determine what you could put, you know, plaques on, for instance, versus what may be better replaced. Some of the stuff we have is pretty aged. Right now, there's a bit of snow, so it's gonna.
Yeah, no, I've had talks with almost everybody.
Mm-hmm. And you're proposing a cost recovery on that project, right?
Pardon me?
You're proposing a cost recovery on that project. Because you're.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would put down $2,000. You wouldn't be spending $2,000 on that line, but you wouldn't be, like, it's how you do it, and you got 8 or 9 pieces there right now, you can put the memorial plaque on.
Mhm. So it just depends on how the program gets developed as we work through it.
And that's it. And you might have other thoughts on it too, like, and good thoughts, so. Yeah, they're not gonna cost you any money, but if you're gonna, if you wanna put $2,000, like, I mean, you're gonna be money ahead using what you have already, and then we've already identified cement pads are gonna go down for the benches, and they should, especially if we use the silhouette ones. And
Yeah, we just have to determine where we can install new benches.
yeah,
So once the snow is gone and I get an inventory, figure out where we can put some, determine how many spots are available, and we'll have a better idea.
yeah.
The program itself will be ready and good to go, so that will just be a contract. It would have to get signed if anyone wants to do it, right, so.
Yeah, and there's, we've looked at a bunch of programs, and some committee members might do a delegation too, so. And we'll see. I'm always willing to listen.
Okay.
Maybe not always. Oof.
That commutator on wastewater, that's been put off for how many years now?
Commonutors, I'm not sure what year they were taken out.
So
Um,
that's probably something that we should do. Like, I mean, we're regulated to have them, right?
We are.
Yeah, so no way around that one.
What's that, what is? Okay, so it is, it was on this original, your original.
Aqua capital list?
Yes, Aqua capital list, okay.
Yep.
So it's the same thing, we're not asking to ask, it's the same thing,
That's right.
okay. All right.
Okay, that was a good start there.
Can I just ask one quick question? I know it's kind of moving backwards. Marlene, the colors on these sheets here. So what does pink stand for?
It coincides, the revenue coincides with the expense, that's all.
Okay. And green means?
Coincides with the expense.
Okay, so
By
it's just,
project.
you're groping them, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you had some kind of secret rule that's what
Well,
these numbers
there's
meant.
there is always one, the orange means it's funded through taxation.
There you go.
Orange means, okay. I'm gonna write that down.
I usually have that at the top of the sheet, but
Orange through taxation.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
If you meant to type it,
A good
I
start.
think I think
it's usually where it goes.
it's hidden in the deletion column.
So now, do we still have this, like, this fire department
What,
Yeah.
do we want to
and the public?
move on
Tammy?
to number 8 and,
Oh.
pardon?
The whole thing was number 8.
My computer died.
What?
I mean, the aqua capital stuff is in that wish list.
It's all the,
it's all-
it's all
it's
the aqua capital stuff on that wish list?
All the stuff in
All
yellow.
of the capital list.
All the
Yeah, was
capital.
that-
All the capital list.
So when you look at this sheet,
That's all,
the
Yeah.
stuff that's highlighted in blue is in your operating budget already.
I just.
for water, food.
Okay, and the yellow is
Piece
in
of paper
capital.
here.
in capital.
So it's already on that Excel spreadsheet.
So that we
Yeah.
don't need to necessarily review this whole thing,
Correct.
because it's already on there. Okay,
Okay,
that's good to
you
know.
want to do that?
And the fire department stuff?
Is in that Excel spreadsheet too, your wish list.
I thought we were gonna go through
Okay.
them too, but I guess.
But it's all in-
we
okay.
went through that, okay.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
So by looking at these, we've gone through everything.
For the first.
Okay,
Like, and you have it all now, right, to digest, go over,
Yeah.
ask us questions,
Yeah.
Homework.
email us.
perfect.
Anything you want more clarification,
Okay.
look at alternate service delivery for some of those
Is there something
items, right?
else?
Those are all the questions you can.
Okay,
There's
Things in the
something
one
we missed.
paper clip.
And we can't even have a study group, because that would be a council meeting.
It would be a council meeting, that is our next study group, yeah. No, well, no, it's good to know, because we have to do those, but if they're all in one list, that's cool, very
Well,
good.
if we're done talking about number 8, right?
Okay,
yeah,
that's
so,
the variance.
no, that was a good afternoon, but now we're gonna go into camera.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, resolution 6423. Moved by Councilor McGrath, seconded by Councilor Morrow. That's pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. The next portion of this meeting be closed to the public to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal employees.